the Indiana Fever beat the Dallas Wings 102-83. This was a highly anticipated game because it was going to be the first time that Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers would be going up against one another in the WNBA.
July 13th, 2025 was supposed to be just another regular season game until Caitlin Clark turned it into a statement. In her first professional matchup against longtime rival Paige Bueckers, Clark led the Indiana Fever to a dominant 102-83 win over the Dallas Wings. But this wasn't just a blowout, it was a performance that shattered records and silenced critics. The Fever dropped a franchise record 64 points in the first half, while Clark finished with a stat line of 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals, something no other player in WNBA history has accomplished twice. For years, fans watched the Clark-Bueckers rivalry unfold through high school showdowns, viral mixtapes, and unforgettable NCAA tournament battles.
And Diana said it best, this kid's in for a rude awakening. And they all jumped over her, but they didn't read the whole thing that she said. But nobody's printing. You know, Diana Taurasi was right. This kid's on the wrong team. She's got the wrong skill set to handle the physicality of that league. And she's a rookie. And if you're a WNBA player, if you're any kind of player.
Clark chose Iowa, Bueckers went to UConn. Their paths were different, but both carried the weight of expectation. As Clark entered the WNBA, analysts questioned whether her flashy, fast-paced style could succeed against seasoned pros. Early struggles and a growing tension with coach Stephanie White only added fuel to that fire. But on this night, under the national spotlight of an ABC broadcast, everything changed. Coach White gave Clark full control of the offense, and what followed was pure basketball chaos in the best way possible. This is the story of how a rookie with something to prove took over the court, crushed every doubt, and reignited one of the most exciting rivalries in women's basketball. Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers didn't just burst onto the scene. They hijacked every headline from Minneapolis to Manhattan before either could legally vote.
You know, her midi has always been as nice as it's been this year. You know, she just plays way older than she is. Like she's confident, she's smooth, she just does everything at a high level, can score from all 3 levels. And that's how she's always played. And that's obviously translated really well.
By sophomore year of high school, Clark was drilling logo threes that lit up YouTube, while Bueckers was floating mid-range jumpers so smooth they looked edited in post-production. Scouts treated their AAU matchups like must-see TV, and message boards filled with early arguments over who'd own the future of women's hoops. Then came the fork in the road. Clark, hungry to build something from scratch, bet on Iowa, a program starving for national relevance. Bueckers chose UConn, basketball royalty under Gino Auriemma, where trophies live in bulk. Overnight, their rivalry turned into a study in contrasts. Small-town underdog versus dynasty heir, limitless range versus surgical precision, swagger versus composure. College only fanned the flames.
Here's Clark, being hawked by Isaiah James. Clark, sidestepping 3, is good! Clark, backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, baiting away, and dropping it in. Beautiful. Here's Clark off the screen, through the lane, feeds Howard. Another assist for Clark. That's 13, as Howard is up to 18 points.
3 March Madness collisions delivered back-and-forth drama that ESPN still packages as classic content. Clark won the series 2-1, stamping the finale with a 41-point barrage that knocked UConn out of the 2024 tournament and set social media ablaze. Yet every highlight came with a subtle disclaimer. High-flying college stats don't always translate to the pros. Bueckers' supporters insisted her efficiency would outlast Clark's heat-check style once the game turned ruthless in the W. Clark's believers countered that her fearless tempo was exactly what the league needed. Fans weren't just picking players, they were picking philosophies, drawing battle lines long before either star signed an autograph as a professional. 5 years later, those lines finally met under the bright lights of a national broadcast. The question lingered like a countdown clock. Which path, dynasty polish or renegade fire, would rise when rookie nerves, veteran elbows, and playoff-level pressure collided on one summer night in Indiana?
Hey, Caitlin. You've known Paige since middle school, AAU. You guys were on the U19 World Cup team together. Is there anything that maybe stood out then about her, whether it be on or off the court, that maybe still reigns true today?
I mean, I feel like she's played in the same manner that she, has since she was, whether we were on the U16 team together, U19 team together, whether it's me watching her in AAU. Like, she's always just been smooth. She takes what the game gives her.
The answer started unfolding the very moment Clark bounded onto the floor, chest-bumping teammates as the cameras rolled. Caitlin Clark didn't just arrive in the WNBA, she parachuted into a minefield of expectations. Hall of Famer Diana Taurasi famously promised her a rude awakening, and Gino Auriemma questioned whether logo threes and no-look lasers would translate when every defender is stronger, quicker, and carrying 10 years of pro tricks. Numbers seem to validate those doubts. Clark's three-point rate sagged to 29%, turnovers flirted with 5 a night, and she suffered a 6-game stretch shooting under 35% from the field. National panels slowed every hard foul to frame by frame, debating whether veterans were testing or targeting the rookie who had stolen the media spotlight. Even loyal Iowa fans winced as the Fever lurched from thrilling wins to baffling losses.
And a lot of people are saying, oh, everything is she was Caitlin before Caitlin, she's better than Caitlin and all this stuff. That kind of stopped in the media. Caitlin Clark put up better numbers in the WNBA than Paige did in college.
Pressure inside the organization was just as intense. Clark's basketball DNA screams run and gun, rebound, outlet, touchdown pass, while coach Stephanie White prefers chessboard possessions that limit mistakes. That philosophical clash erupted during a televised June game in Atlanta. Cameras caught Clark and White exchanging heated words at the timeout huddle, a 15-second clip that racked up millions of views and became shorthand for rookie versus system. Teammates later admitted the locker room felt split between two tempos, and Indiana's offense stalled, ranking bottom 3 in pace despite housing the league's most explosive rookie. All this turbulence funneled into one unavoidable spotlight.
This is a big game for us. I think we've struggled in the fact that we're able to play one good game, and then we play a bad game, then we play a good game, then we play a bad game. So I think for us is like, we got to find a way to be able to stack really good games together, and then we go on the road and we're on a back-to-back, which is just a challenge in itself. No matter who you're playing, we play Connecticut, then we play New York. So I think Steph's message was, yes, All-Stars coming up, that break's coming up, but our focus is on these 3 games that we have left. So in that sense, I do think it's critical that our focus just remains on the game in front of us, and I feel like that's what everybody in the locker room is doing.
A primetime ABC broadcast showdown with Paige Bueckers, the very rival who had shadowed Clark's rise since high school. The stakes were triple stacked: cool the pundits, prove her style works against veterans, and show Coach White that pedal-to-the-metal basketball could elevate an 11-10 team from middling to must-watch. The game that followed would decide whether the doubters stayed loud or swallowed their words in real time. Inside the Fever locker room, the loudest collision wasn't body on body, it was basketball ideology. Caitlin Clark's DNA screams run, rebound, one-hand outlet, touchdown pass before defenders cross half court. Coach Stephanie White, a 15-year veteran of pro sidelines, has long believed championships are built in the half court. Control pace, value every possession, limit live ball turnovers. Through June, that tug of war produced more gears grinding than meshing.
Lee Rue the other night had a season high 18 points. Here's Boston turning the corner. Dishing to Hull. Extra feed Clark. A deep 3. You bet. And he actually brought up stats from a shooting slump Steph Curry went through. She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well. Right on the money to Mitchell.
Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark, the rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown, Fever.
Indiana's offensive rating sat in the league's bottom 3rd, even while it rostered the most explosive rookie since Diana Taurasi. Fans could see the friction in real time. In a late June loss to the Atlanta Dream, cameras caught Clark and White in a heated timeout exchange. Point guard gesturing to push, coach motioning to slow, a 15-second clip that rocketed around social media and nightly highlight shows. Veterans felt the strain too. Lineups changed nightly as White searched for combinations that could execute her slower sets without blunting Clark's creativity. The result, jerky momentum, one exhilarating 90-point win followed by a 70-point slog. Columnists started asking whether Indiana was handcuffing its franchise centerpiece. ESPN's studio panel debated if pace suppression was holding back a potential playoff dark horse. By early July, the Fever's record hovered at 11-10, respectable yet miles south of the hype swirling since draft night. Something had to give, and the schedule offered a perfect pressure cooker, a nationally televised showdown with Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings. With ABC's cameras trained on every possession, would Coach White finally uncork Clark's full-court vision, or tighten the reins even harder? Tip-off arrived, the stakes were sky high, and 1 quarter later, the game and the debate exploded in the loudest way possible. Everything funneled into one spotlighted night. National broadcast, Saturday slot, first professional meeting between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers, 2 names that have been shadowboxing in fans' heads since high school mixtape days. Indiana rolled into the game carrying baggage, uneven play, public questions about pace, and Clark's recent shooting slump that had people pulling Steph Curry comparison clips just to calm the noise. She said it herself, the best in the world go through stretches like this. It won't last. That confidence mattered, but so did results. Inside the Fever facility, the message tightened. Stack good games. No more yo-yo, good, bad, good, bad. The schedule made that urgency real. A brutal road swing, Connecticut, then New York, loomed right after this matchup. If Indiana wanted momentum, they had to grab it now. Across the court, Paige arrived carrying the UConn pedigree and a smoother, more controlled game. Exactly the type analysts had claimed would scale better to the W. Dallas leaned into that narrative with a physical scouting plan. Crowd Clark, grab her off the ball, force half-court decision-making. If the Fever got dragged into mud, advantage Wings. Then came the twist no one outside the locker room expected. In pregame conversations, and reinforced in the opening sets, Coach Stephanie White loosened the reins. Clark had latitude to push in early offense, hunt advanced passes, and trigger drag screens before Dallas could load up. The first quarter, tense but even. Both teams probed. Indiana looked sharper, not explosive, and then the horn sounded for the second quarter. Clark took the inbound, glanced up court, and fired the first of what would become a flood of touchdown passes. The entire game tilted in less than 10 minutes, and the debate over how Indiana should play was about to get answered at full speed. Seconds into the second quarter, Indiana stomped the accelerator. Clark nailed a sidestep 3, then rocketed a full-court touchdown pass to Kelsey Mitchell, kick-starting a jaw-dropping 36-point period in which the Fever shot 16 of 21, 76%. The surge ballooned into a 33-9 run that left Dallas reeling in Gainbridge Fieldhouse in full roar. By halftime, the scoreboard flashed 64-46, the highest first-half total in Fever history, and the top mark by any WNBA team all season. Clark's warp speed orchestration turned every rebound into a fast break highlight. Mitchell finished the night with 20 points. Natasha Howard sprinted for 18 on near perfect efficiency, and Aaliyah Boston controlled the paint with effortless putbacks. Ball movement bordered on poetry. Indiana racked up 30 assists, tying a franchise record, with Clark personally delivering 13 of them. Dallas had no answer. The physical strategy meant to slow her only opened wider passing lanes. Each Wings miss became another Fever sprint, another dagger 3, another reason the crowd kept rising from its seats. The quarter horn finally sounded, but the spectacle wasn't finished. Clark's box score hinted at something even bigger still to come. One defensive play away from rewriting the record books yet again. By the fourth quarter, the outcome was sealed, but Clark was still busy making history. Her scoring remained efficient, just 14 points on 9 shots, because she spent most possessions setting the table for everyone else. The assist tally climbed to 13, tying the franchise mark, and every dime felt louder than the last. Then came the defense. Clark jumped a passing lane for her 5th steal, turned and lofted another picture-perfect outlet to Sophie Cunningham for an uncontested layup. In that instant, she became the only player in WNBA history to record at least 14 points, 13 assists, and 5 steals in a game, twice. The steal total doesn't fully capture her disruption. She also pinned a layup against the glass, immediately triggering a fast break the other direction. Dallas guards started hesitating, glancing over shoulders to see if the rookie sniper was lurking. Even the Wings' leading scorer, Arike Ogunbowale, finished 0 for 10 from the field, proof that Clark's anticipation was as damaging as her passing. What made the stat line so striking wasn't the raw numbers, it was the balance. Clark scored just enough to keep defenders honest, sprayed passes that unlocked career nights for teammates, and still found the juice to terrorize passing lanes. Analysts love throwing around the term box score stuffer, but this was something more surgical, like she'd cracked the code and decided to flex every line of it in one night. While the numbers secured her place in the record book, the real victory showed up on the faces of her teammates and the frustration on Dallas's bench. When the final buzzer locked in the 102-83 rout, the box score read like a manifesto for faster basketball. Kelsey Mitchell's 20 points, Natasha Howard's 18, and Aliyah Boston's effortless double-double, all traced back to one change: Coach Stephanie White handing Caitlin Clark full control of the tempo. For weeks, whispers had wondered whether the rookie's breakneck style and the veteran coach's half-court philosophy could ever sync. On this night, they did, spectacularly. Every possession Clark pushed up the floor ended in a paint touch, an open corner three, or a wings defender shaking her head. Dallas's plan to body Clark and drag the game into the mud backfired. The tighter they grabbed, the quicker she punished them, threading no-look passes behind backs or knifing into driving lanes. By the end, RK Ogunbowale sat at 0 for 10, and Paige Bueckers' 21 points felt like background noise to the Fever's sprinting symphony. Even Clark's defense clipped Dallas's wings, her anticipation clogging passing lanes and snuffing rhythm before it could start. The most telling moment came after the handshake line. Clark and Coach White, shoulder to shoulder, sharing the same grin, half relief, half revelation. One electric night had proven Indiana's ceiling soars when the rookie runs free. Now the question lingered in every mind inside Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Could they bottle this identity for the hostile road gauntlet waiting in Connecticut and New York? July 13th wasn't just a mid-season victory. It felt like the Fever's origin story finally clicking into gear. By unleashing Caitlin Clark's speed, Indiana shattered franchise records, silenced the doubters, and showed how a rookie's vision can elevate an entire roster. One game, of course, doesn't guarantee anything. Connecticut's smothering defense and New York's star-stacked lineup are waiting to test whether this warp drive offense travels as well as it dazzles at home. Yet something fundamental changed the moment Clark's fifth steal turned into that final touchdown assist. Teammates sprinted harder, Coach White let the gas pedal stay down, and a rivalry that once lived in mixtapes and March Madness took its first professional breath. If the Fever keep playing at this velocity, they won't just chase playoff spots, they'll rewrite how fast the WNBA can move. Think they can keep it up? Drop CC Record Breaker in the comments. Hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss the next chapter of this rivalry. Because if the last 40 minutes taught us anything, the story is just starting to accelerate.